Hey guys, guess what's arrived? Well, I'm really hoping that it's one of these. I'm just going to unbox it right now, live on the camera, and see if we're right. So, I've purchased this from the UK, from Eurospares in the UK. It was 800 Australian dollars by the time it landed here, and the part was second hand. Like a nice little booklet there from Eurospares. Very nice. And £344. Looking at my camera upside down. There we go. £344. £58 shipping. Well, let's hope that it's what I wanted or what I ordered. Looks good from here. Here we go. One by Gear. Looks a bit tatty compared to mine, to be truthfully honest. A few little rust spots on it, but that's nothing too serious. Looks to be in reasonable condition. They certainly didn't clean it up. Looks like they just took it off an old engine, and I'll try and get in on that. Can you see that? See how dirty that is? Pretty grubby, eh? So, on this side here, looks like it has a bit of wear on it. Wear on there, and that you can see a bit of scoring, the same as my original one. The other side's pretty good. So this is the side that without the boss there, which faces the casing, which also looks like, to me, it's done the same thing that my original one had done, because I can see, if you can see here, I'm really struggling to get this in camera, to be honest. This is the new one. Can you see the heat damage on the very edge there? I certainly can. And heat damage on this one, which is the original. So I sort of noticed straight away there was a bit of scoring on here, which made me think, well, that's been touching the outer case as well. So, not too impressed about that. It is a second-hand part, I understand that, but let's hope that the heat scoring on there, which you can clearly see, let's hope that that hasn't created any cracks. Maybe they've got to it a little bit earlier, because I know it's second hand, but you know, the part should still be serviceable. It's looking alright so far, but I'm going to give it a good wash and really give it a good examine. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, well, I've had a really good look at it. I've measured the boss and the width of the actual teeth of the gear, but they seem fine. They're pretty much identical, which is good, which I expected, but I just wanted to double check. I'm fairly satisfied to put that on the car. When I say fairly satisfied, well, you know, I really would have liked one that that didn't show that heat stress. I've had a really good look around here for any cracking, and I really can't see any evidence of any cracks forming, which is the most important thing to me. I'm not too stressed about the heat colour there, the discolorization, but I was, when I saw that I was a little bit scared, because this one here is definitely no good. This one looks okay, so I'm satisfied. I'm going to put it on the car. I have bought it second hand. I want to stress that this is a second hand gear. You still, even though you buy something second hand, you still expect it to be serviceable and in reasonable condition. Not necessarily new condition, of course, but definitely reasonable condition, and preferably not have suffered any undue stress, which, makes me wonder how many of these vehicles, these engines, actually suffer that same stress. Interesting. Back to another unrehearsed video. We are about to present the gears to the transfer case. So here we are. So the boss here is going to be the inside. So basically just present it up and in it goes. Okay, now this is what I find interesting. So making sure in the center one you've got both thrust races on. I've got a little marker here, yellow marker there, telling me which way that should go in. It just slots in like that. Okay, they're locked. They're locked in. Okay, now it's simply the ring nut tool, the brand new one. So I never did put on that old cog. I've waited. It's only been a few weeks. And on it goes. Okay. Now you can see that put against as far as it can go, that way, towards the engine, as far as it can go. That nut's on. That's not moving forward or backwards now. I can't move it this way or that way. You can see it's proud by, it might be difficult to see with the camera, but this gear is proud of this gear by about what feels to be like a millimetre, maybe, yeah, about a millimetre. Okay, so they're pretty much identical. How does this gear move? How does that move towards the casing? Matter of fact, it's looking to me that it's the ring nut. It's the ring nut that has actually, that ring, and that's nice and round. Maybe it wasn't done at the last one, but maybe the one before. Maybe they didn't ping it over, and this came loose, rubbed on there, because of that perfect circle, rubbed on there, okay, and allowed that gear to come out. So that nuts had to have come out to about there, like that, for that amount of the gear to be scored. So, and then that's touching that. So I reckon that's what's happened in the past, not necessarily in the last one, even though the ring nut in the last one was a little bit loose, but it was pinged over. So by rights it can't unthread itself because it's pinged here. So that's all the way in, yeah, you can hear that. And I've done that nut up by hand up to there. That's in as far as it can go. Alright, so my next step will be to just put a little bit of pressure on this with my tool. A little bit of torque, not a lot, at this point. So I just need my special tool. And he says, where is it? It's the same size as your wheel. So I'm just putting a little bit of torque onto it. So I put the tool on. And I'm just putting a little bit. I'm not using a torque wrench just yet because I'm just tightening it up, that's all. Okay. So this, I believe, is 132 foot-pound. Not to be mistaken with the 147 foot-pound. I think if you went to 147, it's not going to be the end of the world, but I believe the manual says it's 132. So I will take you over to the manual and show you the torques. So where are we? Am I looking at the right one? Yes. It's over here. Clutch gearbox. Okay, so securing ring nut to clutch shaft. No, that's that top one. 147 foot-pound. We want securing front and rear nuts. No, securing ring nut to main shaft. Transmission side. I believe that's the one we're talking about. It's the main shaft on the transmission side, 132 foot-pound, as opposed to 147. So, yeah, clearly says there, securing ring nut to main shaft, transmission side. Securing ring nut to clutch shaft. So clutch shaft is 147. But main shaft is 132. That's a fair bit of torque. Transmission side. This says to clutch shaft. So they're the two shafts. It's not the clutch shaft, that's the top one. So it must be 132. Okay, so I'm going to set my torque wrench and bring my big boy into it for this job, and I will come back once I have set that up. Okay, so I've got 100, and probably can't see it because the light's absolutely crap here, but on my torque wrench I've got 140 set up. I've already torqued it to 70. I've locked the gears up with that rag, if you're wondering what the rag's for. So I've already done it to 70. I'm now going to go to 140, so I've gone halfway. So it said 132 and the other one was 147. So I'm going to go 140. I'm just going to go a little bit more on the sucker because I do not want this coming loose. The blue tape you might notice on my socket down there, that's just coincidental that I'm using that particular socket. The blue tape is the same socket I use, that socket there. It's the same one I use to take my wheels off the car. So the tape is on it to protect the wheels. That's why that's there. It's got nothing to do with this. So here I go. This is going to take it to 140 foot-pound. Snap. There it is. Alright. I'm only going to do it once. And put this nut off. It's $100 to do that. Okay. And I gotta get the rags out of my gears. Just gotta
unlock my gears and pull that rag out. Okay, so that part's done, ready to ping it over and then put the cover on. So I'll be back in a sec when I've got something to ping them over with. Okay, so to get your rag out, just put your torque wrench into reverse. Just go like that, and your rag comes out. Okay, so that's ready to go. I shall return with the cover. There was something I didn't show, so I'm going to show it again. I put a little bit of gear oil in here on this bearing, like that. Okay, and then slot this one into place carefully, and in it goes. And you can put that in and out, take that in and out once you've tightened this one up. So I've got to ping this over now. I'll be back. Okay, that was a fine time for my camera battery to drop dead. So I've done the bottom one, you can see that's in nicely. Okay, now I'm going to ping this top one. I've just turned those gears, you probably saw that, and just so it's at the top so I can hammer down. Much easier than trying to hammer up. A little bit further round might be good. A little bit further round. So maybe a touch more. If you've ever put one of these on, you know that you have to actually orientate it with one of the lugs first and then put it on, otherwise it can be a real pain. Okay, that's better. Now I'm not going to hit the oil cooler line. I'm very careful not to score my actual shaft. I think I might have touched it just like that. Not as easy as it looks. I want to make sure they're in. I think I just scratched my shaft there, just a tiny bit. Just a little nick on it. So it worked, but you know, you might find something better. But anyhow, that's pinged over, I think pretty good. Give that one a tap up. I'm so paranoid about this. Now that ain't gonna move. Okay, so can you see that? That's pinged on pretty good, yeah? Alright. Okay, pays to check things. Really does. I did a really stupid thing a minute ago. I had some tissue in here protecting that bearing on the inside. And when I put this gear on, I forgot to take the tissue out. But I started getting paranoid thinking, did I put that thrust bearing on the other side? Is it on there? So I checked, I pulled it out to have a look, and sure enough, I found the tissue. Wow, wouldn't have been happy about having that tissue in that bearing. Okay, so pays to check things. Alright, so no gasket. Just gasket goo. On it goes. Try to get it on without disturbing the goo. Okay, I've got my little gun set really low, so it's on the lowest torque it can be. So I'm literally just doing them up. Now I'm going to switch to hand feel and just tweak them up by hand, keeping my hand at the top. Keeping my hand at the top of the ratchet drive. Now just a final tweak. Just a little push with the hand. And that's all I should need. Now I'm just going to go through and check it. That one. That one. That one. That one. That one. I don't think I'll even put a torque wrench on those. I think they're fine. So I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to wipe around the edge of the gasket of the seam, because I don't want to disturb that gasket goo. I just want to let it dry in place. So then he goes and wipes. I was just wiping a bit off the top there. I wasn't actually wiping the seam. So I want to leave the seam clear from wiping. And I'm going to leave that for 48 hours and really let it dry, and then I can fill it up with oil. I'm not going to do a video on that because I've got a video on that as it is, but anyhow, there it is. So now it's the next step. So that's the final step of doing the clutch. So it's all back together again. So the next step will be, of course, put the fluids back in it. I'm still waiting for some parts for my CV joints, just a couple of bolts, then I can torque them up. And along with that, I should be receiving some new seals and gaskets for my manifold and my exhaust. So it's basically do these hubs up, the CV joints, put the new seals and gaskets onto the exhaust and manifold, and I've already put engine oil in it. Did that the other day. I think it's pouring out. Well, not under pressure, no pressure anyway. And then it's basically going to be ready for a start. So getting really close. Realistically, maybe about another week for that job, to finish those jobs. Still waiting on those parts, so hopefully they'll turn up in the next couple of days. They're due, so anyhow, thanks for watching. Hey guys, after reviewing my video of putting this on originally, pinging the lock nut up and all that, I was looking at the pinging of the tabs on the lock nut, and I don't know, like I said, I'm pretty paranoid about it. So I didn't film this, but I've actually taken this cover off again. It's taken me about 20 minutes. I took the cover off about 20 minutes after I originally put it on, cleaned all the gasket goo off again, and I got in and I didn't film it, but I pinged that nut up even more. I sunk those tabs, I sunk them further into those grooves on the shaft. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out. When I looked at the video, I just thought, there's a lot of stress on that, so I wanted it to really be pinged in there better than what I saw. Okay, so it's probably another half again of what it shows just previously on the video. So ping them in really well. Okay, what I used was the flat edge of a file, yeah, and it works really well. Hand file. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Okay, cheers.